So I want to go back through a few word problems which have to do with distance, total distance, and sometimes even direction. These can get confusing, but we're going to start off by really drawing a sketch of the situation. So let's look at number one. You have some money in your bank account. You have $115.50 in your bank account. But then you end up using money. And so the one thing I'm going to put here is if you had zero money in your bank account, that's where the zero would be. In this case, though, you end up using money and you use up a total of $121.75, which is that pink line. So the question is asking you in the first one, what's your account balance? So it should make sense that now your account balance will be negative. So what happened was you had money in the bank account, which was up here. So in a sense, you had money in the bank account, but then you lost money by using the money. And if you notice that the arrows go in two different directions, and in this case, I would take, if I wanted to write out the math problem, actually, let's do the problem first, and then I'll write out the equation that I would be using. So most of you probably should be able to figure out how to find this little piece. And so since we already know that our account balance is negative, you would take your $121.75 and subtract away $115.50. And so we end up with 2. In this case, I end up with 1, and this is 11 minus 5 is 6. 1 minus 1 is 0, and 1 minus 1 is 0. And so I end up with $6.25. Remember, we already knew our balance would be negative, so our answer becomes negative $6.25. So then, if I asked you to write an equation, you would start out with the fact that $115.50, I would need to subtract, and I'm not going to even say subtract. Let's see. Well, in this case, there's two answers. So we can either subtract away the money that we're using, right? And another answer would be $115.50, and keep adding what happens to your account. And in this case, spending means that this piece is negative. Having means that this piece is positive. So I have a positive $115.50, but I have a negative $121.75. Both of these expressions end up being the same thing, but both would give me the expression needed to find the account balance. The second question says, how much did you overdraw your account by? And this one's so overdraw means you use too much money. How much money do you owe the bank? And so in this case, because they're already telling you overdraw says that your balance is already negative, your answer would just be that you owe the bank $6.25, not negative $6. Okay? The wording is a little bit different. Finding the actual balance means if it's negative, I need to use the negative. If they're already telling you it's negative, then you have to use the absolute value, which is the positive $6.25. Let's look at the next problem. So these distance driving problems. So you're starting your weekend trip at home in Maryland. So let's say this is Maryland. You drive 267 miles, north to New York, and then you drive 112 miles south to Philly. We'll just put P for Philly, and that's 112 miles. How many total miles did you drive? Well, I drove 267 miles, and I drove 112 miles. Okay, so 267, 112, add those together. 379 miles total. Next question. When you stop in Philadelphia, how far are you from home? And so if I know home is here, which is kind of like my 0, then I went 267 miles north, and then I went back the other way 112 miles. Or you also could have written 267 minus 112. Both of those would work. And so 267 minus 112, and you get 155 miles from home. Next problem. You start a hike 15 feet below sea level. So here's sea level, which is R0. And I start my hike 15 feet below. So that's kind of like negative 15. But you can also just do an arrow down and say that this is 15 down. Okay? You hike a total of 147 feet in elevation. So from your starting place of your hike, from here, I hike up 147 feet. So what you don't know is where I end up, but you do know that this green hike is 147 feet. So what is the elevation when you complete your hike? So if I actually want to know the number on the number line, and we consider this 0, then you can say that the 147, and you can just use the direction. What I mean by that is, in this problem, I went down 15 feet, and then I went up a positive 447 feet. So how do I solve this problem? There's 15 feet on the negative team. There's 147 on the positive team. So we know our answer will be positive by how many? I would do 147 minus 15 because the positive team is winning by 132 points. So that would be 132 feet above sea level. Okay. Next problem. You are at the peak of a mountain, which is, so let's do sea level again, 0. The peak of the mountain is 1,750, so we'll call that peak, above sea level. You hike down the mountain back to your car. So from the peak, I go down the mountain, which is 12 feet below sea level. So I know this is negative 12, or that this distance here is 12 feet. Okay? What is the change in your elevation? Well, I started at a peak height of 1,750, and then I want to find my total change. I can then say that I can just add the extra 12 feet that I went. Okay? So let me just show that one more time with a highlighter. This piece here is 1,750. This piece here is 12 feet. So my total change in elevation from top of the peak down to my car ends up being 1,750 plus 12, which is 1,762 feet total. Okay? You may see some people consider this a total distance problem, and so we'll do 1,750, and then I'm actually not going to even show that one. Maybe in class, but not here. All right, so next one. The current temperature is 51 degrees Fahrenheit. In the winter, the temperature can be as low as -4 degrees. So I'm going into my negative, so I'm going to put my 0 degrees here, and then here's my -4. Okay? What is the change in temperature? So the change in temperature would go from 151 all the way down to -4. And so what I would notice is that this piece, and I'm going to do it in highlighter, this piece is 51 degrees, and then this piece is 4 degrees more. And therefore, my final answer would be that I would take my 51 degrees and add on my 4 degrees to get 55 degrees. That's my change in temperature, but what did I change in temperature? Did I increase my temperature or did I decrease my temperature? And both, we went 55 degrees decrease in temperature is one answer, meaning I'm telling you which way my temperature changed, or my other answer would be to say -55 degrees, which means I did not increase, I decreased. That's what the negative is telling me. So I used words to describe my change in temperature, but this is how I would describe my change in temperature as a value.